We start the show with an absolutely heart-wrenching recap of the Festival of Friendship last week, where Chris Jericho gave Kevin Owens the world on a stick. Beautiful art, fantastic sculptures, a shoddy magician, and then he expressed his feelings for him live in the middle of the ring on television, only for Kevin Owens to turn around, spit in his face, and beat the piss out of him, much to the horror of everyone in attendance, everyone at home, and obviously Chris Jericho. Oh, bloody hell, that's a surprise. One can only assume Kevin Dunn received the free tickets that sent him to go and see the Phantom of the Opera, and he's learnt something about the fucking theatre. We start Raw with Kevin Owens looking pretty dapper in a suit, may I add, sat in the middle of a spotlight in the centre of the ring. He appears to be adopting a much more serious tone now that he's got rid of Chris Jericho, and he's managed to get himself some heat from the crowd. Nearly as many people cheering him as they were last week and the weeks before, so I'm guessing people are genuinely upset that he's ended Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens' little friendship. Nice work. Owens goes straight on to talking about Goldberg and saying that he was never impressed with him even when he was a kid, and he's going to beat him at Fastlane because he's got a very solid argument on how to beat him, saying the longer a Goldberg match goes, the less in favour it is to Goldberg. He then moves on to Jericho, to which he just drops the mic and fucks off. Quite a nice little opening to Raw. It's just a shame, spoiler alert, it's about as good as it's going to get for tonight. The Big Show versus Braun Strowman. Ho ho, I know one steroid-filled pensioner sat backstage that's very excited for this one. Once Enzo and Kaz eventually get through the usual routine of singing songs to the crowd, making topical references, announcing all the competition winners from last week, showing everyone that sent in the pictures to the show, boring Cesaro and myself, and just showing how fucking dire characters in WWE can still be in this day and age, we finally got onto a #1 contenders match for the Tag Team Championships. Once again, absolutely nothing new. Enzo just gets paggered for a while, then he tags Kaz pins someone and they win. Same old shit really. The only saving grace for me in this match, Enzo was selling for the entire match, Sheamus and Cesaro worked pretty stiff and Corey Graves was howling in joy. That's always a good thing to see and hear. The closing minutes of the match had Cesaro and Big Kaz facing off against each other, and the difference in skill was just scary. Cesaro was all over Big Kaz, made him look like little Cassie, yet management think Big Kaz is an A-level star and he should be one of the ones at the top, and Cesaro, mid-card hell. And then after the match, Enzo showed that he was a sore winner and started gobbing off, and then Sheamus gave him a brogue kick. So I'm guessing they're now heels. Although they took their loss on the chin and Enzo just got to be a clever cunt once again. So Enzo and Kaz remain the faces because, merch sales. Before Kevin Owens has a chance to leave the arena, Mick Foley appears and stops him, and for some reason decides to dig up the Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn feud. Again. Next we see a Braun Strowman promo package, courtesy of Vince McMahon's personal laptop. Oh dear, we're starting with the bints early tonight. We get a recap of Bayley winning the championship last week, under dodgy circumstances obviously. So Charlotte tweeted during the week, obviously sulking. So now Bayley's going to address Charlotte later on. Joy. We join Mick Foley backstage, who's on the phone, and then is interrupted by Roman Reigns. Reigns says he can't wait until Fastlane to get his hands on Braun Strowman, and Mick Foley makes him promise he won't get involved in the match later on tonight when he's against the Big Show. Reigns says that's fine, but as soon as the match is over, and then he doesn't get a chance to finish that thought because Gallows and Anderson appear. Gallows and Anderson are still pretty pissed off about making Roman look strong last week, so they challenge him to yet another 2-on-1 handicap match. Foley gives Reigns opportunity to pick a partner, but Reigns says he doesn't need it because, woof woof woof, he's the big dog and all that shit. Since the next match between the Brian Kendrick and Akira Tozawa is promoting 205 Live, there wasn't a finish to it. Brian Kendrick jumps Tozawa before the match, just claiming that he's not been respecting him and that he's going to teach him a lesson. This week on Looking Really Strong with Roman Reigns, our heroes guests are Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. Meanwhile, backstage, Charles the Dwarf questions the Brian Kendrick's actions moments ago. Kendrick just reiterates that he was disrespected and that he's teaching the young lad a lesson. The moment that Roman Reigns' theme music hit, the live crowd gave it up for the boo dog, boo dog, boo dog, you suck, boo dog, boo dog, boo dog, you suck. My bad singing to annoyingly catchy theme songs aside, the production team do a pretty good job of hiding the fact that the majority of the crowd aren't giving very positive feedback to Roman Reigns, so they cut to a recap of last week's attack by Gallows and Anderson, and then when we come back to the live feed, we're shown close-ups of signs they've probably planted themselves. Obviously so, you don't see all the people around them booing like fuck. Funnily enough, as the cameras follow Roman into the ring, they have to quickly stop dead in the tracks and adjust the shot as a Delete Roman sign can be seen slap bang in the middle, which amused me thoroughly. Someone else that was a little bit sneaky tonight was Mr. Corey Graves. He got a nice little CM Punk reference in there with a clobbering time comment. I'm guessing since the crowd had got rowdy with The Rock earlier on before they started filming. The match itself ends up being pretty much the same as last week's. Gallows and Anderson can't win, so they end up going for a chair. Roman gets it off them and ends up getting himself disqualified. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. During the match, Roman Reigns speared Carl Anderson out of midair, and the production team thought it was appropriate to show this horny single wet bird's sex face whilst drenching the child in front of her with her flooded basement. The table team really go to town selling the combined weight of Braun Strowman and the Big Show, saying that the ring needs to be reinforced before the match. Although, did they need to reinforce the ring for the Royal Rumble? What about the fact that they have all 3 members of the New Day in the ring at the same time, as well as their opponents? We had a tag team match with Cesaro versus Enzo and Kaz earlier on. Pretty sure they're close to the combined weight as well. It's just a little sad that everything in the WWE eventually turns into a game of mine's bigger than yours, mine's bigger than yours. Later on tonight we've got the 9,999th match between Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, plus Michael Cole will interview Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman regarding Goldberg and WrestleMania, and the New Day will face the Dirty Foreigners. Jesus, tap dancing Christ. WWE have actually found a musician that can spell. Well done. The WWE profit from TMZ this time by allowing them to announce that the New Day will host WrestleMania this year. So last week Lana didn't get to give any introductions. This week they've brought her back, and I can only assume they've put a lot of thought into this, but they want to get some heat back on her, so she speaks in Russian for like 2 minutes. People boo a little bit, but she's obviously an attractive lass. Here's a tip, WWE. Stop fucking selling sex once in a while. Or, you know, if that's too difficult, just have Jinder Mahal convert her and bang her in a burqa. That way she can still be great at her job, and people aren't just going to oogle her and cheer her. Just use your bloody heads. After Lana does a great job introducing Jinder Mahal and the only snout that's allowed in her trough, handsome Rusev, to the ring, the New Day come out and peddle their wares. Oh, they say they want to be the hyenas in the next Lion King film. It's all about KIMBA the White Lion. Look it up and learn. In a predictable fashion, they go back to ice cream sales. Come on. Try harder than that. I mean, selling ice cream to Americans is like selling sweets to kids and or selling hormone replacement supplements to Charlotte. It's just not difficult at all. They pretty much sell themselves. After announcing that they now have digital blueprints for their ice cream designs, Lana, obviously being Russian, has somehow obviously hacked them from them. Where I would just bet a bunch of trendy kids nowadays just post it up line willy-nilly and don't actually think about security, so yeah, we could deal with that, or we could blame the foreign issue. In a further confusing manner, Xavier ends up stealing Lana's iPad and then smashes it to pieces, which, yeah, that's what you should do to an iPad, but that wasn't his property. In the ring, they hit the Midnight Hour on Mahal for the win, and that's it. Before they have a fight at Fastlane, Neville and Jack Gallagher have a contract signing to attend, so expect a kerfuffle of some description. Well, that was a really nice little video package for George the Animal Steele. I was quite shocked when I heard that he'd passed. I enjoyed his work when I was a child. I always saw him as sort of like an alternative to the whole Andre the Giant being a big gentle giant thing, apart from George was just batshit crazy, and that's why I was so fond of him. So, rest in peace, you big hairy lovable bugger. Now it's time to take the piss out of my neck of the woods, as we've got the contract signing between Jack Gallagher and Neville. Neville just tries to sign the contract and run. Gallagher stops him and offers him a cuppa, and then Neville rips him a new one for just adhering to the American stereotype of the British/English. It's good stuff from both lads. They put on a good little promo. Their match is building up nicely, and then when things got heated, Gallagher ends up sticking nut on Neville and sends him scurrying to the back. And then we see Nia Jax on her way to the ring. I'm guessing she's going to give some poor unsuspecting bitch a public fisting. Yep, and that's what happened. Squash, done. I didn't even get a chance to get a screenshot of that bird, whatever her fucking name was. Afterwards, Charles the Dwarf asks Nia for a comment on Bayley as the new champion, and then Nia just dilutes down a bit of the Rock shtick for us, smug smiles, and leaves. Oh dear, once again it's Byron Saxton's turn to lead the conversation because, yeah, we learn that WWE need to look up the word tactful in the fucking dictionary, because it's Black History Month time. This portion of time where people that don't care pretend to care is accompanied by images of Barack Obama. Divas, divas, blah blah blah, divas, divas, blah blah blah, divas, divas, blah blah blah, please fuck off. Fucking hell, it's still going on. This segment was so fucking painful it actually took energy not to give a shit about it. And then Charlotte came out and it was just, oh, it wouldn't fucking end. And then just to make matters worse, to quote Michael Cole, we get the renewal of a classic rivalry, aka we've got 3 birds on the fucking roster that we know what to do with, and even then we're not even that sure, so we've got nothing else to book. Fan-fucking-tastic. So we've got Charlotte and Sasha once again. I don't see the point. I'm fucking bored of this. I'm pretty much bored of all the lasses on the Raw brand. I said this months ago. Just bring in Rousey, have a kill 'em all, take the belt away in her teeth, and just never see it again. And I'm still at a loss at why people adore Charlotte so much. She's about as graceful, coordinated, and wooden as the drunk baby himself, Titus fucking Neil. Just horrible to watch. Bang indeed. The Hall of Fame's building up quite nicely this year. Diamond Dallas Page has just been added. It's a thumbs up from me. Since Sami Zayn told Chris Jericho months ago that Kevin Owens would inevitably turn on him, he gets to say, I told you so. He then relates Kevin Owens to Samoa Joe, which is just Zayn digging his own grave further, as he's already pissed Samoa Joe off once by mentioning his name. So the last thing you want to do is mention his name. Well, since they've brought out Kevin Owens first, I'm guessing they're either trying to piss me off and just continue to not bring the champion out last, or Sami Zayn's getting jumped again. Yep, there you go, he's been jumped again by Samoa Joe. Joe beats the shit out of him, chucks him back in the ring. Zayn says he wants to continue to the ref, so the ref rings the bell, but Owens just mullers him some more, finishes him with a pop-up powerbomb, and is done. Next, we see the inside of the Valentine's Day card that Triple H got Vince McMahon last week. Kin hell, they've been a bit brave with Brock's shirt, haven't they? They've just been changing the colour of it for the last couple of years. They've actually changed the full design. Oh, rest in peace, Ivan Koloff. He didn't get a video package, but he did get a mention, so hats off to one of the original Dirty Foreigners. Yeah, seems like Mick Foley's got laid again. He stood up to Stephanie after she compared him to her children, and he's just had enough of all of the bullshit. He believed in her all this time, and she's just stabbed him in the back and just fucked him over. He says she might be the boss, but he's still in charge of certain things, and he's not going to bend over and grab his ankles. Stephanie, however, does have the last word with an indirect threat of violence and suggesting that he watches out because she doesn't want him to have any accidents. Michael Cole's contribution to his interview with Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman consists of him introducing Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman visibly being genuinely disgusted with just the sight and sound and smell of Michael Cole. Brock stands up, scares Cole away, and then we switch to Brock sat in the front, pretty much with nose to camera, and Paul Heyman in the background, offering dialogue. Paul Heyman puts over Kevin Owens and says that he thinks he might actually have a chance against Goldberg, but then he says Brock disagrees and thinks Goldberg was going to beat Kevin Owens and bring the title to their match at WrestleMania. I feel like this is about the 50th time I've recorded this exact sentence, but Bill Goldberg will be on Raw next week to address Brock Lesnar. Also next week, Seth Rollins is going to come back and have an interview and talk about Triple H and Samoa Joe. And now we move on to our main event, which is Braun Strowman against the Big Show in a match where they've had to reinforce the ring and warn everybody it's going to explode and shit like that. I mean, don't get me wrong, it wasn't the worst match that either of them have ever had, but the crowd didn't really care. Strowman did a little kip up, which was heavily aided by the Big Show. Strowman managed to kick out of a chokeslam and the KO punch, and then the Big Show kicked out of the running power slam. I say running very loosely because he just shoddily picked him up and dropped him down. Braun did remember to get his nips out of the Vince though, so there's bonus points and a couple of extra quid in his wage packet this week. And then Braun again struggled to lift the Big Show for a second running power slam, and this time it finished him off. Instead of Braun's music hitting 1-2-1, Roman Reigns' music plays instead, to the lovely harmonising sound of all the crowd showing their appreciation for Roman. And so we end Raw this week with Roman Reigns, the face, jumping Strowman, the heel, after he's had a big, long, hard-fought match against the largest athlete in the world. Is he a face? Is he a heel? Just fucking turn him. It's about time. It's getting embarrassing now, lads. So yeah, sorry Raw, but second week in a row now I've been completely underwhelmed. Possibly just because this match wasn't designed or booked for people like me and more for other people that enjoy other kinds of wrestling. Who knows? I just had no interest in this match whatsoever. I was more interested in the guy in the crowd with the Where's Hogan sign, and when I say interested, what I actually mean is that I'm interested to know if somebody followed him outside, beat him near to death with the sign, and then forcefully scrunched it up his arse and waited for him to shit it out of his mouth the next day. That's what I mean by interested. That's enough out of me for the time being. If you'd like to ask me questions or leave me abuse, I can be found on Twitter @BluntDamage. If you'd like to leave a comment with the video, you can follow the link in the description to the Botchamania site and do so there. And while you're on the Botchamania site, you can check out 10 quality years of Botchamania, obviously, the entire backlog of my Raw Rant all the way back to my written pieces, Vinny's midweek wrestling write-ups, and a shit ton more great stuff to keep you busy on the site. Also, if you like my theme music, the band are The Colour Fire, they can be found at www.thecolourfire.com. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.